everyone, and welcome to your favorite podcast, Marketing Games. I'm your host, Pauranik, and in today's episode, we have two very special guests joining us. Our first guest is Mr. Asif Chaudhary, who is a sales and marketing director with Resource, an award winning PR firm. He's also the host of Your My Comms Hero podcast. In our first episode, we'll be talking about the role of creativity in the PR industry. So, without further ado, let's begin. Mr. Chaudhary, thank you for joining us. Sir, you've been a part of this industry for more than 2 decades now, and I'm sure you must have seen this industry evolve over the years. There's certain aspects that you need to have in order to be successful in this industry, right? And creativity is one of them, I know. So, how important of a role does it play in the PR industry right now?
So here for me, it's huge. I think, as you mentioned, I've been involved in that for 25 plus years. And in that period of time, the biggest thing to happen was social media and digital. So with digital, that created more noise, more channels. So creativity prior to digital channels, you had a limited amount of channels to get through to people. So you didn't have to work as hard. You did have to work hard, but you didn't have to work as hard because you weren't competing for airtime. Whereas now, with all the social media channels available, getting yourself heard, getting your stories heard has become more difficult. So creativity is the one way to make it stand out. That's the real key thing. So whether that's creativity in the visual content, the words that come out, and so that creativity has been a key part in getting past the what we call digital fatigue, where people are bombarded with so many adverts and stories and content throughout every day. Right. That what makes your story and your content stand out, the creativity is the one key way to ensure that you are standing out. So it's really important to, when you're thinking about story, make sure creativity plays a part in how are we going to be heard, right, rather than just reporting information. Everybody's doing that now.
Mr. Chaudhary, for someone like me who's still new to the PR industry, this often comes to my mind. And I'm sure a lot of young listeners out there might have this similar question. While working with your clients, there's certain objectives and messages that they want to send out to their targeted audience. So, how do you balance that creativity and at the same time deliver those messages smoothly? How do you do that? How do you maintain that balance?
Yeah, no, good question again as well, Pauranik. And here, the balance is the key to that is the people that are working on the project. So you have a creative team who will, your content generators, whether that be visuals and copy. So you have two different sets of people. You have to have somebody who's dealing with the strategy. And the strategy really is the thing that underpins. So at the beginning of a brief, when we have a brief from a client, what we do is we look through that brief and the objectives, because we ask questions like, what does success look like? That might be, we need to, it used to be pre-social media, we need to achieve this many column inches in these publications, and now it's, we want this much reach, we want this much engagement, we need this many likes and that kind of stuff, really. So that's really important to have that at the front end to ensure that, okay, this is what we need to do. Now we bring our creatives and our content writers in to understand how do we actually create a campaign, a story that's going to help us to achieve an ROI of X, engagement of this, a reach and impressions of X, that kind of stuff, really. So creative strategy, PR strategy, alongside your creative visualizers and your content writers. So that whole marriage of those people is the best way to keep that balance. And sometimes you have some challenges en route because you've got to balance the creatives and the content writers against the strategist, where you're having to say people, oh, look, that won't work. This will work because that won't achieve the objectives. So it's hard to balance, not just for the customer, but also internally without upsetting people and colleagues. Yeah.
Mr. Chaudhary, we see new trends every day, and the industry stakeholders coming out with new innovative and creative ways to communicate with their target audience. So, how do you stay at par or adapt to these ever changing trends, sir?
So how do you keep up with to date with trends like with organisations like the CIPR, the Chartered Institute of Public Relations, doing CPD, so continual professional development? Staying on top of your industry is really important. So year after year, if you want to be chartered, for example, you have to stay up to date with trends. And in order to be successful in anything, I think with the amount of innovation that's going on, especially within PR and marketing, there's so many things like, you've got AI and chat GPT and things like that.
Right.
That you have to, you don't have to be an expert on everything, but you have to be aware of the things that are going on, and preferably within the teams that you have with you, working with you, you have to look at bringing that expertise in to your organization, into your PR agency, your marketing agency. I think that's really important to keep abreast of what is happening, and whether it's trends in tech. Tech seems to be the thing that takes over now, but also it's not just trends in technology, but it's trends in the type of people who are working in this industry. So content generation is huge now in PR.
Right.
So we've got a totally different dynamic in terms of the people. So it's understanding how to be part of that, especially when you've been in the sector for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that when generational gaps start to appear?
Yeah.
So CPD is really important, making sure you're on top of that every year. And being chartered is a really good way of doing that, because in order to retain your chartered status, you have to do your CPD and submit that every year. So you have to prove and evidence your learning. And it's important for your job. You need it for your job, so you've got to stay on top of it.
Mr. Chaudhary, a lot of people like me who are still getting into this PR industry are really concerned with the outcomes of a PR campaign. It really affects us. And for someone like you who's been in the industry for more than 20 years now, I'm sure you must have had your own ups and downs throughout your career. So, how do you really measure the success of a good PR campaign?
The success, first of all, you've got in the campaign objectives from the client. You've got some measures that they will put in place. Like I said before, ROI, we've got to achieve this many column inches, reach, impressions, likes, etc. Or conversion to sales. There's no, that could be the success element. But you mentioned the ups and downs, and what's important in there is that not every campaign is going to be a hit. So sometimes you have to balance the disappointment of a campaign that didn't work, but it's still successful, because you'll learn what not to do next time, especially when you're being innovative and you're trying new things, which is really in creativity. That testing is really crucial. So the measuring of success isn't just the ROI. If that's what's going to pay the bills from the client, then ultimately that is important. But as you go through your career, there will be campaigns that do fall flat. And really, when you do the review after the campaign, find out why. And there could be a whole host of reasons. The creative didn't work. You just didn't get the copy right. Timing was wrong. There wasn't enough budget. There are a whole host of reasons. Or we just got it wrong. Sometimes it is we just got that wrong. But each one of those, you're never going to go through a career of 20 plus years in this industry with everything that's winning. It just doesn't happen. It's unrealistic to expect that. And it doesn't matter, 20 plus years on, you'll still have some campaigns that won't deliver. It's really ensuring that you don't have successive campaigns like that don't deliver, because at that point you've got to look a lot deeper then as to why is this happening. But if you've got a good team around you, then they'll help to balance what you're doing for that campaign, and ensuring that when you do have those things that didn't work as well in the past, you make a mental note of these things, because that's what experience is. That's how you gain experience.
Mr. Chaudhary, thank you for talking to us, sir. But before you leave, What's the one piece of advice you would give to the young listeners out there who are still getting into the PR industry on how to stand out or be more creative?
I'd say to take away the expression, dare to fail.
Right.
So that's where you have to really think, okay, how am I going to, I'm not going to be afraid to try new things. Um, Look around you all the time
Right.
for creative inspiration because
Right.
it's everywhere. But also make sure you go into these things with an attitude of I'm going to try new stuff.
Right.
That's really important because unless you start trying things, you can't be creative and be safe.
Right. Right.
You've got to be creative and try to be daring with things
Yeah.
to get stand out. Yeah,
Right. Right.
dare to fail.
Hi everyone. So in our second interview, we'll be talking about the future of influencers in PR with our very special guest, Ms. Savini Chauhan. Savani is currently working as a PR officer at Egon Zender and is also a medical influencer. Savini, you've been a part of this PR industry for almost 10 years now. So, how has the role of influencers changed over the years?
First of all, Pauranik, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's a pleasure. And to answer your question, I have been a part of the PR industry for almost a decade now. And I think the role of influencers has definitely changed with time. And it's mostly because of the social media, which has taken the PR industry by storm now. At least in the last few years, all these influencers have become an important channel for all these brands to reach out and communicate with the target audience. I mean, I know many influencers who have grown so much and are earning such good money through YouTube and Instagram, and they're endorsing brands. So, yeah, influencers are still a key part of the PR industry.
Great. How much of a role do you think the influencers will play in the future, and how much of that role will change?
See, like I said before, social media has played a massive role in the evolution of the PR industry. I mean, you can find millions of influencers on social media at this moment who are actually doing really good. And I believe it's not just the big influencers who have millions of followers that will be in charge of this PR industry,
Right.
but I also feel like the small ones who we also call as the micro influencers. I don't know if you're aware about it,
Right.
but these are thousands of followers, not in millions, but they are growing and they bring authentic raw audience. And these are the ones who will play a vital role in the future. And we're already beginning to see a change. People are starting to realize the potential of social media, and with this constant evolution of technology, they also have a platform to do what they love and make money out of it. And there are so many new startups coming up and budding brands who prefer these small influencers over established ones to, promote their products. Because what these small influencers bring to the table have a good hold over their audience. And like I said, authentic raw audience.
Right. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think the influencers need to do in order to be successful in this rapid changing PR industry? What do you think they have to do?
I think this is actually a very good question. Influencers have now understood that they simply cannot just endorse anything. So they now also have to understand the whole idea behind the campaign that they are being a part of. They're spending more time learning about the products that they're endorsing so that they're actually able to connect with the public and, rather than just
Right.
reading a script or delivering it.
Right.
And if they're paid by the companies, then they have to be equally responsible for that information because they're actually being the face of the company that they're endorsing for. So they are, what used to be the situation a few years back, that's not really now. It has changed.
Right. Uh, Pavani, thank you for being with us today. But before you leave, what's the one piece of advice you would give out to the young budding influencers that are still getting into the PR industry?
Well, I think my advice would be very simple here. Like I said, this industry is ever changing. So
Right.
stay updated on the new trends. on the new platforms, on the new strategies, and keep working on enhancing your skills. And good or bad, you should learn from experiences, right?
Right.
Find new and exciting ways to, engage with your audience, and most importantly, be authentic. That's
Right.
very important.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.